Right on time for Leadership Wednesday program, and thank you so much for being with us. We are trusting that you are having a very bright day, and of course you know when it is Leadership Wednesday, it is matters leadership. As we always say, everything rises and falls on leadership, and therefore this is a program that gives you a platform to contribute, to participate, and also to give us your take on what needs to be done to improve our leadership and make it better. When this is done, of course, it translates to having a great society, having a great country, including our 47 counties. And therefore, for the next 1.5 hours, we shall be interrogating a number of issues very pertinent in the country related to leadership. Now, of course, the major subject making headlines, drawing reactions, and eliciting mixed feelings and opinions across the country. It's all about the Finance Bill 2024. Finance Bill 2024. Now, of course, this has really elicited varied reactions with a number of Kenyans, a very large percentage of Kenyans urging members of parliament not to pass this particular bill in its current form. And actually that forms the basis of our question for you today. We are asking you, do you think the Finance Bill 2024 should be passed by Parliament in its current form? Do you think, are you of the opinion, are you of the view that the Finance Bill 2024 should be passed by Parliament in its current form? Feel free to share with us and interact with us on that particular subject, and we will be glad. That is a very important area that, of course, is cutting across. But we shall be getting into the nitty-gritties of that in a little while. But I'm also joined by my colleague Paul Kagi. It's good to see you. A very good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, dear viewer, and welcome to our program today. Wednesday, and we are here to give you an insight of what is happening in our country and even in the borders for the leadership program. My name once again is Paul Kagi. We are here for you today. Absolutely, and of course Kagi will be also helping us look at the general analysis of other key items that have been taking center stage across this particular 1 week. You can tune in for that, and you can look forward for that. Of course, we also have our reporter Cheminingwa, who went to the streets and also collected views from Kenyans on what they think about this Finance Bill 2024. We shall be in a position also to find out what are Kenyans saying there about this particular bill. You can look forward for that. We have a very interesting segment, that is prominent faces, that we are introducing in this particular show. Prominent faces across Africa, across the world, and I believe that you're really going to enjoy whatever we are going to bring to you, or the face that you are actually going to feature. We have Know Your Constituency, and of course the leadership quote. So it is a full intro you can be sure to really enjoy. And of course, we also have an interview that we did with the Honorable Samuel Arama. He's a member of Parliament for Nakuru Town West, to just get his perspectives on what he thinks about Finance Bill 2024. Of course, the members of Parliament passed the 2023 Finance Bill, or Finance Bill 2023, and to actually the displeasure of so many Kenyans. Now, this time round, are members of Parliament going to side with the majority of Kenyans, or are they again going to pass this particular bill in its current form? That is what we are going to have in a short while. So you can interact with us, 23814, that is our shortcut platform. We are asking you, do you think the Finance Bill 2024 should be passed in its current form? Share your thoughts, and you can also catch us live on our Facebook page, MBCI TV, and YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. As we continue, we shall be glad to also find out what you think about this particular subject. But first things first, Kagi, some other key items that have also been rocking our airwaves across these very recent days.
Yes, and is quite well, Mangicho, as we are going to analyze on what is happening within our country, even beyond the borders, in our weekly analysis in our program today. And we have one positive information here from the Ministry of Health, whereby we know there was a challenge of vaccines in our hospitals in every county. But by yesterday, the Ministry of Health, through the PS Henry Kimutai, announced that the government has started dispatching around 8 million vaccines worth 1.2 billion shillings to various hospitals in our counties. And this is after there was an outcry from many parents that they are not receiving the vaccines. And yesterday there was good report where the ministry announced that they have been able to dispatch the vaccines, and many parents were very happy because their children could receive all the pending vaccines in the hospitals. This was a very serious situation whereby I think over the weekend, yes, I visited one of the hospitals, and the cry from many mothers was very dire because they didn't know what to do with their children. Many of them went home with their babies. They didn't know whether they are going to receive the vaccines. But a few days after the weekend, now we can say that the children are very safe. Now every mother can go to the hospital and pick up with the medical officers to be able to vaccinate their children. It is the first time we are receiving this kind of a challenge, but thank God it has been resolved. And we believe also in other areas where we receive some medications in the hospitals. For example, I think also this month we had a challenge with those who are using the ARVs, and by also last week there was a good report that those medications were received in our hospitals. Yeah.
Wow, wow. I think, Kakagi, just as you've put it, it's important. And you know, health is very, very important. Health is a very pertinent subject in the country. And when you're talking about special issues to do with vaccines, I think this is something that really needs to be given the priority that it deserves, especially even for our children, because the kind of damage that can actually happen when maybe they are not vaccinated, it can actually be very, very grave for us as a country. So it is important that it is actually looked into in the right way.
And the good thing is that the public knows the importance of vaccinating their children.
Sure.
You see, there are some diseases that currently you cannot see them, like polio. It's because mothers knows the need of vaccinating their children.
I used to remember that very famous expression, kick polio out of Africa. I can remember it.
Yeah, because there are some diseases that you cannot find in developed countries. They are not there at all.
But you are completely eradicated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are in the journey of eradicating many diseases. It has been a long journey. And for polio, I think we are somewhere. It is very rare for today to see a child with a polio. But some years back, 20 years ago,
20 years ago, it was quite common.
It was very common.
And it's a very, very grave disease. Yeah, because it makes one paralyzed, you can imagine.
Yes, it was due to ignorance by some parents. But there are many areas that we are very ignorant, Mangicho, as Africans, to check on our health. One of the areas I could point out is that we rarely go for medical checkups. The basic medical checkups, we rarely go for.
I don't know why.
Personally, I have that challenge. But I think it's because sometimes we don't really take seriously on our health matters. But also we thank government because it is also showing seriousness. With the new program for the health, the SHIA. The SHIV, the government is showing that it needs everybody to be well covered in terms of health.
Exactly. So I think it's something that we really need to look into, and the entire public needs to make sure that they give it the consideration that it requires. Parents, in this particular case, whenever maybe they have heard that maybe there is some vaccination that maybe needs to be given to the children, they need actually to work on it.
Would you remember there was a program that was initiated by the president? I don't know the name of those officers, I forgot the name, who are going around the villages to check on our health.
There is that name,
There are some officers, I don't know.
Is it community health volunteers? Something related like that, to that.
Whereby we're supposed to monitor our health. I think it has emanated from this challenge, whereby we rarely go to check on our health. For example, one of the diseases that is affecting many people in this nation, even globally, is hypertension and also cancer and diabetes. But there are two common diseases which is very challenging to many families. The issue of the hypertension and diabetes, which can be detected. You see, with cancer, it's very difficult for you to detect outright. But for hypertension and high blood pressure, we can easily detect them. But the problem is we only rush to the hospital when the disease is in its apex.
Yeah.
All right? And therefore, the idea of checking, especially for those who are aging, on those two diseases was a very, very, very prominent step.
Absolutely.
It was very useful. So that you can be able to detect these diseases early enough.
Early enough, exactly.
Yeah, and to start diagnosis and treatment early enough instead of waiting for the last minute.
Absolutely. Yes.
There is a guy called Francis Atwoli. When you hear the name Francis Atwoli, there are many things that cross in our minds.
What has he done this time around?
This guy is shining day by day. Atwoli has been re-elected for the 5th time as a member of International Labour Organization.
International Labour Organization for the 5th time. As a member?
Yes.
Wow.
In fact, last time I think he was a senior guy in ILO. And this shows how these guys regard this man in the international corridors.
You know why it is interesting is because there are those who have actually been demanding that it is time he quits. It's time he drops he quits and he gives an opportunity maybe to other leaders.
Yes.
But of course, I think in one of the interviews he said it is not even about him. It's about the people who want him to continue with what he's doing. So yes. I don't know whether he has some unique kind of leadership styles. That
maybe he has, which are recognized globally, but here locally, maybe we are seeing him differently. But we can take a stock on him as Kenyans, because you cannot be elected as a member of ILO if you are not maybe a leader from your own country. So the grassroots is to be a leader in your own country as maybe the chairman or maybe the executive officer of a labor organization. But Kenyans can take a stock of him, whether he is bringing change in our labor organizations, in our labor sphere.
Exactly.
And many feel that he needs to give our younger people an opportunity to be able to show their talents in labor organizations. That's why many people are calling for him to pass on the baton.
To pass on the baton. And of course, I think one of the complaints, Kagi, that we've been having about Francis Atwoli is even him getting into the murky waters of politics. And there are people who have actually been blaming him and complaining that the moment he meddles up with the politics of the day in the country, then there is very little that is left to show about him actually working and striving and also maybe pushing for the workers' rights in the country.
And therefore, so we will be following up to see whether his election as a member of ILO is going to have any positive impact in our nation. So once you are elected in an international organization, it should have a ripple effect within your country. It should have. And that's why you see the government is pushing hard for Raila Odinga to be the chair of the African Union Commission.
Exactly.
Because they know it has its own benefit.
Because
direct benefit.
That is already like a capacity that you've been given.
Yes.
That which can directly translate to some benefits from your country of origin. I totally agree. I think it's something that really needs to be looked into.
Yes. Before we look at the Ruto-Uhuru engagement, the Transport CS, Kipchumba Murkomen, has hinted that we may receive a pump price increase in the next, I think, 1 month or 14 days, because they said that the levy could be increased from shillings 18 to 25 per litre. Okay, this is because of the increase of tax by 7%, 7 shillings per litre. You know, we're using 60%. They want to add the increase of the fuel shillings through the budget, which is coming soon, which is going to fetch around 115 billion shillings. You see, Kenyans were very happy to see the prices coming down day by day. But this information by the CS for Transport, Murkomen himself, who want the Finance and National Planning Committee to increase the tax by 7 shillings per litre. That means if this is going to be executed in the current review of the fuel prices, we may get an increase of our fuel prices from back where we are. You see, right now, we can say that we are coming down slowly by slowly, and we hoped by the end of 3 months, we'll be buying our fuel at 160 shillings.
Actually, most Kenyans, I think, had actually hoped that it would continue, it would actually maintain that kind of flow where it continues to reduce. I think it will get most Kenyans by a very, very negative surprise.
Yes.
If again now it can actually take a rising form. Yes.
Okay. I know today we'll be talking about the finance bill later.
Yes, yes. I think we will be getting into that. But even before we get into that, Kagi, of course, there has been the issue of the retired president,
yes,
Uhuru Kenyatta, and what he is duly entitled to as far as benefits are concerned and his retirement packs are concerned. Of course, this is occasioned by the statement that was given by his press, is actually a spokesperson, that is Kanzedena. But apparently, we've also have now information that there was a conversation, telephone conversation, that was done yesterday, that is between the former president and President William Ruto. And this, of course, promising that those particular issues are going to be looked into. But be that as it may, Kagi, definitely there is some there is some damage that has been done, because now when we have that kind of information being brought to the public, the kind of picture it paints of how maybe as a country we look at and maybe we check and how we treat our very, very prominent leaders, because when you're talking about a former president, a retired president, that's a very, very prominent figure in the country.
Yes, even beyond the country. He is very respected in the borders, beyond the borders. The president's action to call the former president was very, very important. This is because if you could hear the way leaders started coming out, you know how Kenya is. When one thing is brought up, how we pick it is different, especially by politicians. You could hear how the government spokesman was speaking that matter. There was a direction he was taking. Okay. Yesterday, if you could hear the CS for Trade, Moses Kuria, the way he was responding to the same situation, it's a different picture they are creating. Maura on this side is creating a different picture. Kuria the same. Another one maybe during the weekend. If this matter could not have been addressed by the president himself, it could be a different story during the weekend. It would have been now the agenda and the topic in our public rallies during the weekend.
So it's actually commendable that he really looked at it very, very quickly. Yeah, I think that was very important, because now the moment that the country had that the two have met, the two have conversed, at least now people knew and people were sure that there is going to be hope. But as you say, it would have actually brought a very, very bad picture. Remember, this is an issue that we've not had with the previous presidents, the late Daniel Moi. We didn't hear of such kind of
it was not there.
The late the late Moi Kibaki. When he retired, things went very smoothly.
I remember when the late former president Daniel Moi had an accident heading to Nairobi from Kabarak. The lead president, Mwai Kibaki, was very swift to be able to check what really happened with him. And he went to visit him in the hospital, and he learned that he needed to be added more vehicles to be able to protect him along the road, and good vehicles. And he was very quick to be able to rectify that. And therefore, my question still remain, why did they wait for this long to bring this matter in public gallery?
And of course, most people will read negative
and a lot of
politics. Because of course, as the country knows, the former president may have differed with the current president, maybe in terms of the politics of the country. But where do we draw the line when it comes maybe to one's beliefs as far as maybe the political positions are concerned, and what one needs to do as far as what they are entitled in law is concerned. So at least we need to see where are the boundaries.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. There was another issue that was raised by the internal CS, the Kithure Kindiki, regarding to those guys who are preaching tribal politics in the country. There was one story that was mentioned here in line with that. They're saying the making of regional political chieftains. There's something that's cropping up, which is making the Minister for Internal Security uncomfortable, whereby some politicians are slowly going back to their backyards to create some political basis in expense of our national unity. That is the concern with the Minister for Internal Security. And some of the areas we could mention, this matter is very prominent in the Mount Kenya region and even in West region. You know, there's a guy called Natembeya, who is really pushing his agenda in that region.
He has come up with a movement called the Tawe movement.
The Tawe movement.
That has actually caused ripples in the Western region. Apparently because there are those who think that he wants to unseat some of the kingpins that have been there for a long time. We're talking about Musalia Mudavadi, you're talking about Moses Wetangula. Of course, these are some of the leaders that are being thought as being the ones who call the shots in that particular region and the larger Western. So I think the coming and the appearance of Natembeya in this and with that movement has really upset some people.
But my concern is, I don't know why it is the Natembeya's narrative, because it came before the Gachagwa's story. Why Natembeya's narrative regarding to combining or uniting the Western region through Tawe movement didn't really catch the attention of the high or profiled politicians like the CS for Internal Security, until Gachagua really came up with one man, 1 shilling and 1 vote. It's a question which is being raised, why some areas are not really being seen as if they are trying to consolidate regions as per the tribe, which is not good. It's not good at all. We don't advocate for balkanizing the country in our tribes. And remember there was a proposal even to remove some of the names, to change some of the names within our counties.
By the way, I think there are like 10 counties that were affected. Talking about Turkana, Kisii, talking about Meru. I think, Kagi, you know the problem sometimes we have is with our politicians, because definitely we know as a country, our diversity is our strength. Our diversity is our strength. But when you hear even some of the leaders when they are talking, like for example the deputy president saying that all politics is local. So even before we look at the national, we come to the national limelight, we look at the national picture, you've got to begin from somewhere. And maybe for quite a number of leaders believe even before maybe you are accepted nationally, you first of all have to have been accepted locally. But how you look at that in relation to causing animosity between one ethnic community and another ethnic community, I think that is where now we really need to find out. Because some people will argue, or some people will think that maybe you're using your position to further the needs and the interest of your community at the expense of others. Remember, we are, how many ethnic communities? 44 or 43? Or are they 46?
No, we are around, we are heading to 44. Because we have added, I think, 2 or 3.
That were added recently.
Yes. Interestingly, Mangicho, is the way our leaders talk in our public meetings. They need to have, we have a national unity, we need to have a one nation, we need to shun tribalism, balkanization. Very good terms and jargons for uniting Kenyans.
They bring all those terminologies.
Yes, very sweet ones and very serious.
But behind the scene, they do a different story.
Yeah.
That is the most
They'll still get
irritating
back
thing.
to their ethnic cocoons and try to incite particular ethnic community against the other. That is a problem that we have.
They hold meetings to be able to see how they are going to consolidate their areas for the next election. But when they come to the public meetings, they speak a different story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that really needs to be looked into, even as we talk about this, even as a country, different ethnic communities, even as they get proud of the ethnic communities, it is still important. But we must draw the line. What is it and whose interest are we really furthering? Because at the end of the day, no community is superior than the other one.
And if we are not careful where we are heading to, because there is a trend that is coming up whereby we are grooming up towards another political temperatures. The NCIC, it has been silenced all along. If you look at some of the politicians here who have been vocal in the last 1 month, some of them, especially those junior politicians, if the NCIC is not careful enough, these guys can easily incite. They can easily incite some political temperatures within the country. And therefore, the NCIC should move very fast to be able to tame these guys early enough. Because if you allow everybody to go speaking about this, about that, about tribes, about countries, you know, after a short time, it is all over the country.
Exactly.
And when it's all over the country, it's very poor, it's not easy to manage or control that kind of a temperature.
Absolutely. That is something that needs to be looked into. And we don't want to get back to what we've always been saying, Kagi, that some of these commissions are toothless.
Sometimes
they cannot bite. They've actually been blamed for this for a very long time. So it is important that, because again, they are being funded by the taxpayer. So when it comes now to them being accountable and showing accountability for their office and for their mandate and for their obligation, then there should be no question about that. It needs to be looked into. Maybe before we get into our real conversation, Kagi, further afield in the country of Malawi, it is mourning because of the chopper accident.
Yes.
And this has really, I think, even caused now a lot of questions across the world, across the globe. Remember, we had the chopper that killed the Iranian president, Ibrahim Raisi.
Yes.
I remember our own situation in the country where we lost our Chief of Defense Forces, General Ogola. And now what happened again in Malawi. Killing the Vice President and, of course, 9 others. I think it calls maybe for something to be looked into as far as the air transport is concerned.
Globally, it is something that is coming up again, whereby there is lacking a little bit of safety in our air transport. And those who are concerned in checking on this matter, whether locally or internationally, they should come up and tell us, where is the fault?
Where's the fault? Sure.
Is it the pilots that we are having? Is it the machines that we are using, the aircraft that we are using? Or is there any foreplay?
Sure.
And I remember when we had an accident in Ethiopia, which killed many Kenyans, a Boeing something. Many countries in the world came up strongly to investigate what is happening with these Boeings. Because if they could not have checked, maybe they could have brought other accidents in our airwaves.
You're right.
And therefore, there's need to come again and ask questions globally. What is happening? Or are we being sold some malfunctioning machines?
It calls for a thorough investigation. I think it is time now that people really converse.
Especially for people who are high profile.
And especially remembering how critical air transport is, even for our very, very prominent leaders. Then when you're having these cases and in those kind of rising numbers, then it calls for a major, major concern. Yes, we want to take a short break right away. Then when we come back, we shall be delving into our key area of conversation, the finance bill. Of course, there has been the public participation taking place in the country, and Kenyans have expressed their views. Reports indicate that majority of Kenyans are against the finance bill in its current form, they want that to be changed. We'll get back into that and much more still in the Leadership Wednesday show.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Jipatie ploti ya 50 by 100 katika mandhari mazuri na ya kuvutia V1 Estate kwa shilingi 1649. Ploti hii inapatikana mkabala na Simba Cement, dakika 5 tu kutoka kwenye barabara kuu ya Nakuru Eldoret. Ploti hii ni mwafaka kwa kuishi. Kuna maji ya borehole na stima katika kila ploti. Ploti hizi zinaweza kufikiwa kwa urahisi kwani ziko karibu na barabara ya tarmac. Nunua sasa na upate miti iliyokomaa katika kila ploti. Tuma jina Nakuru kwa 21404 au tupigie 0758707050 au tutembelee jijini Nakuru Tower 1 Building. Haiso Properties, a culture of trust.
Nipatie spelling ya neno orthopedic. Orthopedic inaanza na O. Orthopedic inaanza na O.
Orthopedic. O-T-P.
Madam.
I-D-I-C.
Rudia tena.
Orthopedic. O-P-I-T-D-I-C.
Daktari wa meno anaitwa dentist, ndio? Na daktari wa macho ataitwa nani?
Dentist. Maidha anaitwa dentist. Tunaenda kwa macho. Okay. Electrician.
Unataka kumwambia mwisho wa gari ni hapa. Utamwambia je kwa kizungu?
The head of the car is here.
What?
The head of the car is here.
Hiyo labda ukuja jana.
Kata pua?
Kata hewa. Kata pua ukate hewa.
Wale wali. Sema mara 3 mbio mbio.
Wale. Wali. Imenishinda.
My name's Koima David, working with the management team of Mumbai Farmers Cooperative Society, in the role of the manager. Cooperative is a group of farmers coming up together with a common goal. I must say that it started back way in early 70s.
Early 70s.
That was the time when the colonial government was still
around.
So currently, as we speak, we have a total membership base of over 6,500.
6,500 from 74.
Yeah. Also, this area was good in Paredram Paidan, and also wool because there were merino ships.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes talking about leadership is there are very many ways in which leadership are brought into being.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome back. You are still watching us on Leadership Wednesday on MBCI TV. It's all about leadership. Now, our major focus for today will be on the Finance Bill 2024, and I think, Kagi, it's going to be presented in the House tomorrow. Yeah, so that I think the public participation actually ended yesterday, and Wananchi gave their opinions at the pub about what they feel. So it is now for the bill to be taken to the House and now for members of parliament to also have an opportunity to scrutinize it. And of course, Kenyans are watching to see how they are going actually to, and how they are going actually to look at it, and the kind of maybe judgment they are actually going to give.
And of course, they have the final say.
Yeah.
The president was to meet the ruling parties' members of parliament caucus to consolidate them and to whip them to pass the bill, which he has not yet done. Maybe he will do it, but we're waiting to see whether members of parliament are going to, what they are going to do with the bill. The public have spoken, including the members of civil societies, the big companies, corporations, organizations. They have really spoken their mind on the bill. I don't know whether they're the ones which are representing public. I don't understand how Mwananchi himself presented his own views on the bill.
I think they were represented by some of these organizations, some of these civil organizations. Because we're going to see how members of parliament are actually going to respond and what is going to be their take on this very, very important subject. Now, for now, of course, like we said, we have our reporter who went to the streets and also got the opinions of Kenyans on this Finance Bill 2024. Are they of the view that it should be passed, or do they want some amendments? Do they want some areas to be looked into, maybe to be redefined or maybe refined before it is made to become a law? Let's get what Kenyans are saying and thinking about this particular matter.
Okay, my opinions are one is that this finance bill, I don't feel it personally as a normal Kenyan or a local Kenyan, that this bill is good for us. One is because first is taxing the the producers, like the dairy industry. I think it is going to be affected because currently they are doing working on the ITIMs to tax even the dairy or the milk farmers. Number two, is that you can see now that we got the I think the eco tax. The eco tax, you have bought a car. Why do you, it is taxed already when you are buying. But why do you again come and tax in this person, and yet is taxed in terms of fuel, in terms of tires and all the services? Why should we do that? So one thing I'm requesting is that we should have that finance bill should be dropped for now, because currently even the Kenyans are not feeling it well, because I think this one will not assist Kenyans. In fact, it is going to make them even go down than what it is. So I'm requesting my MP that he should be one of those people who will shoot this bill down.
Warekebishe, wasiweke juu sana, ingawa tunataka tujitekemee, lakini waangalie ile bidhaa ambaye tunaweza weka ile kila mtu watu wanaweza kaa bila kutumia, kama sigara, kama pombe, waweke hiyo ndio watu waachane, kwa sababu hata hiyo inaleta ugonjwa. Lakini vitu ya chakula kama mafuta, kwa sababu ikiongezwa mafuta ya gari iende juu, kila kitu itaenda juu.
So wewe ungependa irekebishwe, ungependa ikataliwe?
Nataka irekebishwe.
Maoni yangu ningesema kwa mambo ya financial bill, tungependa serikali warekebishe, maana mwananchi anaumia sana. Tukiangalia upande ya finance bill, tungeomba serikali ifuatilie vizuri na aangalie, maana tukiangalia imeelekezwa mwenye ambayo hajiwezi. Maana tukiona kila tax inalinga mwananchi yule iko chini sana. Kwa hivyo serikali tunaomba wakati wanataka kuongea mambo ya finance bill, kwanza asikize watu kutoka chini, yani public participation iangaliwe. Maana tukiangalia hata saa hii tukiwa upande ya reserve, kuna hii mambo ya ng'ombe ambayo tukiangalia tulikuwa tunafoka tangu huru tupate mpaka wakati huu. Tunapoangalia serikali wanatuelenga, hatukatai, lakini tunataka warekebishe kwa njia mzuri ambayo anaona mwananchi ambayo ameumia sana. Tukiangalia mambo ya barabara, mambo ya hata hii hospitali, tukiangalia mambo mengi hatujasaidiwa, lakini ushuru inaendeshwa kuongezwa kwa njia ile, tukiangalia haswa kabisa mwananchi anaumia. So tunaomba wenye wanashikilia hii uongozi ya serikali kama juu kutoka president mpaka chini, atuangalie hiyo arekebishe. Tukitaja mambo ya forest, tunaona sasa mang'ombe zote metolewa. Ile maziwa tulikuwa tunategemea, sasa hakuna maziwa. Wenye walikuwa nategemea mambo ya kulisha hakuna. Sasa je, hii mang'ombe hata kama mtu iko na ng'ombe 20 ataelekeza wapi? Ile mashamba walikuwa naye walipanda mahindi ama waliweka chakula huko, tena tunatolewa kwa forest juu bila hata notice. Tungepewa hata mwaka moja ili tupunguze hata chakula kwa mashamba yetu, alafu tupate nafasi hata ya kubomua.
Hiyo finance bill inatufinya kabisa. President atuconsider tu, cause like Kenya tulikuwa tumezoea like tuseme wakiongeza kwa mkate, kuna wale watoto wako reserve kabisa, they can't afford to buy that bread, hawatapata mkate. M-Pesa itafinyilia wale watu wa chini kabisa, so watu consider. Hapana, ikataliwe kwa sababu so far kwenye vitu zenye wamerekebisha, so tumefinywa already, like hakuna business. Mkulima mdogo sahi hapati pesa. Benye tuseme demo wanafinya huko juu, huku chini hatupati hata business, hatuwezi fanya kazi. So my opinion tu ikataliwe. Yeah.
Hii mambo ya finance bill inafaa irekebishwe kwa sababu imeumiza sisi hapa chini, kwa sababu hatuna mapato. Kwanza upande ya hawa vijana mahasula wanaumia kwa sababu hawana mapato ya kutosha kutaksiwa hizo mapesa. Na upande wa KRA pin, tafadhali waangalie hiyo sehemu, kwa sababu mimi kazi yangu mapato saa zingine napata kidogo, na pande ile wanataka kunikata. Saa naona waangalie hapo, inafaa tu waangalilie kabisa, hata warekebishe ama ipotee kabisa. Watu wametukujia na haraka sana. Watafute mbinu ambayo ita balance mwenye hana chake kidogo na ule mwenye ako juu. Mimi sioni upande ya matajiri, kwa sababu tumekaa na umaskini kwa muda mrefu, tumekaa na mapato kidogo duni. Tunaona vijana nyumbani hapa wamepata ma certificate, wako nyumbani, hakuna kazi. Sasa naona tu afadhali waangalilie, warekebishe ama wa balance, waone isiumize ule mtu mwenye ana chake.
Ningesema kwa maoni yangu, ningesema inatu affect sisi wote. Kwa sababu ukiangalia hata mkulima mdogo pia huwa anaenda anabai hata kama ni hiyo mkate. Tajiri pia anaenda ananunua hiyo mkate. So when it come to taxes, tunataksiwa sisi wote the same. Hiyo ndo maoni yangu.
Nasema hii finance bill irekebishwe. Inaumiza mwananchi kabisa. Aswa tukitax vitu kama mkate, chakula muhimu ya mwananchi ya chini, irekebishwe kabisa. Iangaliwe mambo ingine, kama vile kuna resources mingi ambaye ingewekwa hata iwekwe tax, kama vile wale wanachunga ng'ombe kwa foresti wasitolewe, wangetafutiwa namna ya serikali kuweka tax kidogo ili watu wachunge ng'ombe kule forest. Maana serikali wako na resources mingi, wako na miti pia. Miti tangu enzi ya ukoloni watu walikuwa watu surrounding walikuwa nachunga miti, wao ndio wanapanda na wao ndio wanachunga. Lakini sasa watu wakitolewa, hao watu hawana namna ingine. Misitu itamea ikuwa msituni na hatutakuwa na manufaa yoyote. Lakini kukue manufaa ya kuharvest ile miti imekoma, itolewe, ipandwe ingine, watu wapate kazi. Hata vijana wapate kazi. Kazi ya kuprune ili miti yani itoke ile safi.
Mimi ningependa sana tafadhali bro, financial kwa Kiswahili inaitwaje? Kwa sababu mimi ni Mswahili, mimi sija mswada wa kifedha. So hii mswada ya kifedha, mimi nikijaribu kuangalia kweli yenyewe kweli iko hiyo mswada hiyo. Na hiyo kwa hiyo mswada sasa yenyewe kweli inafaa ifanye kazi ipasavyo. Juu sasa hatuwezi tumie mswada tu hivyo tu yenyewe kweli sisi tukitarajanga alafu inasemekana tu ndio hiyo imetolewa imekuja lakini haifiki, hatuoni na tuko tu naye na sisi tuko tu vile tulikuwa tu. Ningependa kuomba tu hii serikali tafadhali, kama tu inaweza tuokolea kwa hii mswada yenye mnasema, basi wacha hii mswada basi hata mimi nione. Juu sasa nisipoona nitajuaje juu yenyewe kweli mmesema? Participation hata inifikia hata mimi mwenyewe inigusia kabisa, niulizwe nitafute hata mimi niambiwe haya hata wewe uko na watoto no mimi basi mimi niseme ni ukweli ndio hii na alafu niseme ni ukweli nishapata hiyo mswada.
According to my personal opinion, finance bill is fine, and the question I'm raising is that all the taxes collected, how can the taxes be utilized or properly managed by the government? That is the problem Kenyans are facing. They are in doubt. All the taxes which are collected, they are not sure if the funds might be utilized properly by the government.
Mangicho and Paul, quite an explosion of opinions from citizens in regards to the financial bill. Remember, the president has been traversing not only the continent but also traversing the world to collect what we call investment money. And many Kenyans are asking, where is the money going? Some are asking, the problem is not the financial bill. It is about how is it that it is safe whenever the taxes are being collected. And some are saying, this is not our bill. We need some consideration. It is either the change, it is either the change, it is either the refiguring of the financial bill, or they are calling upon the rejection of the financial bill in absolutism. So we are here and we have heard from the citizens of the country. We cannot say much. It is what it is. You've heard it from the horse's mouth. My name is Silas Chemeningwa. Back to you in studios.
Bravo there. Our reporter Silas Cheminingwa doing some very good work, Kagi, in the streets, getting the opinions of Kenyans, and they're quite varied and explosive, as he says.
Commendable. And we have heard how Kenyans have spoken about the bill.
Yes.
And that was the question I was asking before, that where are Kenyans themselves, the common mwananchi, taking his recommendation?
Sure.
And because civil society says they are there, but I thought maybe they will go around the country and whereby they meet mwananchi moja kwa moja. But anyway, it's procedural.
It's procedural. And quite a number of areas, Kagi, I think have come out, and I think this is what majority of Kenyans are up in arms with, because it seems the Finance Bill 2024 in its current form has actually affected some of the basic life, or some of the basics, some of the basic areas that will actually affect majority of Kenyans. So we're talking about fuel tax, we are talking about transactions, phone transactions and charges that are going to be increased in that particular area. We're talking about the issue of bread. I think this is actually one of the areas that most Kenyans were really very much disappointed with.
Even the issue of the vehicle, what they call the motor vehicle tax.
The motor vehicle tax. And apparently this came and there has been that particular debate. And unfortunately, some of the leaders have actually come out to tell Kenyans that, why are you complaining? Why are you lamenting? When you're talking about the tax on motor vehicles, this is not going to affect the average Kenyan. This is only meant for those who are rich. I think quite annoying because it's like really looking at the average Kenyan from a very negative light. And of course we know if you are actually even to do that, and how basically it can actually translate, because majority of Kenyans, of course, we can even say they use maybe the public transport. So you can imagine the owners of the public transport, once this particular tax is actually meted on them, what will they do?
It is going to have a direct effect on the common mwananchi, especially those who use transport, the public transport daily. So the transport fee is going to increase by far. Yes.
So I think that is something that really needs to be looked into. Of course, with this kind of expressions coming out from Kenyans, I think all eyes are on Parliament, and I think this time round the parliamentarians will have a very, very uphill task, because you've had one of the residents there has actually said that I'll be watching my member of Parliament. Yeah, I'm urging him well in advance.
I was thinking about the finance bill in the morning, that at least Kenyans are very quick to learn some of these things. Before the 2023 finance bill, Kenyans didn't know that there's something called finance bill that existed. And it has been there for many years.
Yeah.
But its story was ending in Parliament. And even if you could hear there was finance bill, was passed, blah, 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 no one cared.
It was not like something that was brought to Kenyans to interact with it, the way they are now interacting with it.
Yes, but
so
now,
members of Parliament had they had actually the privilege to do whatever they wanted to do with it.
But today, they know what is finance bill, its purpose, and if you could hear to the public through these vox pops, they are all encircling one area, that the government should be very careful, or members of Parliament should be very careful, because this finance bill might increase even the cost of living, and the way they are going through hard times. If they increase the cost of living, then it's going to be difficult for them. And therefore, they are very categorical on this matter.
Absolutely. And my director is telling me that, Kagi, we can just take a short break, even as we prepare to come up with the interview that we had promised. And of course, also looking forward for the other segments that we've prepared for you in this very, very important show.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Maombi yetu yanapoenda juu, baraka hushuka. Kingdom Seekers Evangelistic Team Nakuru wakishirikiana na Gospel Outreach Church Chaka kualika katika Mega Harvest Crusade kuanzia tarehe 20 hadi tarehe 23 Juni mwaka huu.
Expect a miracle in the name of Jesus.
Hafla hii iliyoandaliwa na Reverend Peter na Pastor Bansi Mutunga itafanyika pale Chaka Stadium Nyeri. Mgeni atakayezungumza ni mhubiri John Kamau wa Kingdom Seekers Fellowship Nakuru.
This glory of the risen Lord will reflect in your life in the name of Jesus, in a great measure, in a great measure.
Naye mgeni mwimbaji atakuwa mhubiri Anthuo. Tutakuwa na morning devotions kutoka Tenashara mpaka saa 1:30 asubuhi. Alafu crusades kutoka saa 9:30 hadi saa 12:30. Kisha baadaye kutakuwepo na uvuvio, yaani revival, kutoka saa 1 jioni mpaka saa 2:30 jioni. Kumbuka, ni kutoka tarehe 20 mpaka tarehe 23 Juni mwaka huu, pale Chaka Stadium Nyeri. Nyote wakaribishwa.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Good to have you again. We are still on the Leadership Wednesday show. Very, very many thanks for still keeping us company. Kagi, I think as we had promised our viewer, we can now get into the interview that we did with Honorable Samuel Arama, the Member of Parliament for Nakuru Town West.
Yes.
He's one of the legislators. And of course, the public will be looking at this particular house and what they are going to do about this particular bill.
Correct.
So we asked the questions. Let's find out the kind of response that he gave us. We watched that particular interview and then we'll come back and give you more on this particular show. Naam, shukrani sana mwenzangu Paul Kagi. Kama vile ambavyo mweza kuelezea, tuliweza kupata nafasi ya kujumuika na Mheshimiwa Samuel Arama, ni mbunge wa Nakuru mjini Magharibi, kuweza tu kutusaidia kuweza kuangazia masuala haya ambayo ni nyeti sana katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, masuala ambayo yamekuwa yakigonga vichwa vya habari. Nazungumzia mswada wa fedha wa mwaka wa 2024-2025 maarufu Finance Bill 2024, na vile vile tumekuwa tukishuhudia malumbano kati ya mrengo wa Rais William Ruto na mrengo ama wale wa ndani wa naibu Rais Rigathi Gachagua. Tunauliza kulikoni? na vile vile tutakuwa tunaangazia mjadala huu wa one man, one shilling, one vote uko namna gani. Ndio mambo ambayo tunaangazia kwenye kipindi cha The Leadership Wednesday, na karibu sana mtazamaji uweze kuendelea kuwa pamoja nasi. Mheshimiwa mbunge wa Nakuru mjini Magharibi Samuel Arama, karibu sana na tunashukuru sana kwa nasi siku leo.
Asante sana, karibu hapa nyumbani. Tumekaa muda lakini tuko sawa.
Asante sana, imekuwa muda na tunashukuru kwa kuweza kupata nafasi nyingine tena ya kuweza kuwa pamoja nawe katika mahojiano yetu ya siku leo. Mheshimiwa, mambo mengi sana yanafanyika katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, na ni wakati ambapo Wakenya wanataka kujua viongozi vile vile wanasema namna gani kuhusiana na masuala haya ambayo ni muhimu, ambayo yanawaathiri Wakenya moja kwa moja. Lakini moja kwa moja wacha tuanze pale ambapo Wakenya wengi wanataka sana kuweza kujua mambo ya Finance Bill 2024. Na wanasema kwamba 2023 wabunge waliwasaliti wa Kenya. Finance Bill 2024 wabunge mara nyingi wasimama na Wakenya.
Watu wanasema hata leo nimetoka kanisa mahali tumekuwa na function mahali inaitwa Ngasa SDA Church, na tulikuwa na senator wa Nakuru County. Hata watu naona wameuliza hiyo swala ya finance bill, na nikaona wanasema ya kwamba vile wameiona. Unajua hii finance bill bado iko na raia, because we are at the what we call public participation stage. Sasa hiyo ndio ya wananchi wanapeana maoni. Na ile watu wanajua maoni yamepeanwa ni ya aina gani, ni wale watu wa finance committee kiongozwa na MP Amuro bwana Kimani. So vile umeiona ni vile hata mimi nimeiona. Hajafika wakati sasa ya stage ile inakuja bunge ndio tuone raia wamesema nini. Sasa hapo kutoka hapo sisi tutasema nini, then we can see whether we are supporting it or not. But from what I'm seeing, I think ni kama vitu zingine watu hawakubali, hata mimi sikubaliani na hizo vitu. Kama hii maneno ya 16% VAT on bread, hiyo mimi naona hiyo nitakataa. Hii maneno ya watu kutoa ushuru kwa magari, hiyo naona pia nitakataa. Mimi nataka kuangalia hapa nje uone magari yangu ni ngapi, ni mingi. Sasa nikienda kusema hii hata mimi will be affected. Ukikuja hapa Saturday kama leo na kesho, ukuje uone watoto wanatoka around my area, those kids who come to take tea in my place, wanakunywa chai na mkate. So I can say the bill will also affect me directly. So vile mimi naangalia vitu tutakubaliana vitu zingine na iko zingine tutaweka amendments tukatae.
Lakini mheshimiwa, huu mswada unatoka kwa serikali, mrengo wa the executive.
Hiyo ndio kazi yao. Unajua the work of the executive.
Na kwa kawaida huwa tunajua ya kwamba vile ambavyo ilivyo katika nchi yetu ya Kenya ni ya kwamba wale ambao labda wako na wingi na umaarufu labda hata ile idadi ya wabunge ni wale ambao labda wanakuambia wanamunga mkono.
Unajua bunge yendangi hivyo ati kwa sababu mko wengi you can just pass a bill which comes to parliament. Ni watu wanafikiria hivyo. Parliament is a house of debates, is a house of people who represent their constituencies, people who represent their constituencies. What I say in parliament or what I fought for in parliament is what my people want. So if my people tells me like today I was in charge, they have told me that is an oppressive bill, I cannot say no. I would go by, apart from ile public participation imefanya na wale wabunge wanasimamia hiyo finance bill. I have also my conscious. I am also conscious about my people. I'm also asking them kama if they think that bill iko aje. Wakiniambia si mzuri, siwezi kuanza kuenda kuibia nisema kwa sababu executive wamesema. In any case, the work of the executive is to bring bills to parliament, and the work of members of parliament ni kupitisha ama wakatae. Hakuna wakati president atakuja bunge kuja kuambia watu watipitisha bila.
Unajua Kenya wanafia kwa sababu ile ya 2023 walipitisha licha kwamba
mimi nilipiga yes ya 2023. And the reason why nilipiga yes ni kwa sababu Ndikuwa nimejua hata mafuta ikiongezwa with 30%, itafaidi watu yangu kwa sababu nilipata barabara ya rami. So this one I'm not seeing nikipigia yes kwa sababu watu wamekataa hiyo. I've seen some bills, some articles in that bill. We must remove kama hiyo ya mikate, kama hiyo ya gari na zingine.
Kwa hivyo unafikiri kama ingekuwa hata ni bora zaidi hata kwa kamati hii ambayo labda inahusika na uratibu na vile vile mpangilio wa huu mswada, baada ya kuweza kusikia vile ambavyo imekosa kupata uungwaji mkono katika hili kiwango, hata wakose
you know what happens after people have given public participation, the committee can sit down and remove those issues which have been brought about by the public. That's why do we do public participation, so that musikie maoni ya watu inasema nini. Sasa kama maoni ya watu kwa hii, some of it watu wamesema yes, 90% wamesema no, even 90% people say no, serikali iweze kuanza kushindilia itatoa. Lakini unajua wananchi wa Kenya saa zingine wanakuwa impatient. Sasa hiyo wanaanza kusema pili ni kama ijafika bunge. There is still every chance that serikali inaweza kataa kuileta vile iko namna hiyo, depending on vile watu wametoa maoni yao.
Kuna uwezekano kwamba serikali labda ama wale ambao ni waandalizi wa huu mswada mheshimiwa walikuwa wanatafuta mbinu za kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba serikali inaendelea kuongeza mapato yake kupitia labda ushuru.
Lakini waje niulize, kwani kazi ya serikali ni nini? Silikuona vile tatafuta pesa ndio wafanye maendeleo. So that's where they're seeing, unajua unakaa chini unaangalia ni wapi tunaweza pata pesa. Tukiweka for example tax kwa magari. How do we get this tax from people who own vehicles? Tukiweka iende kwa insurance. Ukienda kukata insurance yako, kama ulikuwa unakata pesa fulani, wanasema percentage, ongeza percentage fulani, so that hiyo percentage fulani ndiyo itakuja kwa serikali. So the government is trying to look ni mahali gani inaweza pata pesa bila kuleta shida directly to wananchi. Wanaangalia, wanaona mtu generally, mtu anaendesha gari ni mtu wako na pesa, because you can't buy a vehicle you don't have money. So wanaangalia, wanaona hapo tukiweka pesa kidogo, tukiweka how many vehicles are using on the road, imagine those vehicles kila mtu atoe percentage kidogo. That's what they say. So wakiendelea namna hiyo, naye inakuja inapitisha, watu wanakuja wanakataa, wanasema hawataki. 90% of people wasema hawataki, hiyo itatolewa.
Hii serikali iliweza kuja mheshimiwa kwa misingi ya kwamba itasaidia wale ambao ni wa kile kiwango cha chini maarufu the hustlers. Kuna wale ambao wanahoji kwamba huu mswada ama huu mswada wa finance 2024, finance bill 2024 unaelekezwa kwa wale ambao ni matajiri na si kwa hustlers. Unaamini ya kwamba hautamwathiri yule ambaye ni mwananchi wa kawaida?
Unajua ile kitu mimi najua, karibu kila mtu, I think they say around 70% of Kenyans are hustlers. Who is not an hustler now? I'm also an hustler because I hustle. Kama saa hii niko na shamba nalima pale chini, unaona masimu na piga. Niko shamba mimi nalima, napanda mboga, napanda avocado. Si mimi ni hustler. Me, I'm also an hustler. So 70% ya watu they are hustlers. But what I'm saying, this bill, if it comes into tukipitisha, watu wengi wamelia, ni kama watu wengi hawataki. Some, I said some, see not the whole of it.
Ni kama vile ambavyo ulikuwa umetaja mheshimiwa ya kwamba kuna wale ambao wako na gari, wengi labda wataona ya kwamba labda wale wananchi wale ambao tunaita mama mboga, boda labda wengi hawana magari, hamna haja wao kuteta. Tumeweza kusikia vile vile baadhi ya wao wakiweza kusema ya kwamba wale ambao labda wana import baadhi ya malighafi na raw materials kutoka nchi za ng'ambo ndio wale ambao watakuwa wanalengwa sana na hii finance 2024, ambayo labda kwa njia moja ama nyingine yule mwananchi wa pale chini hausiki.
Unajua huo umeangalia ya magari na ya mikate. Mikate, in fact, waja nikuambia ya kwamba watu wako na pesa kwanza wakuli mikate. Hao wanakula, wanatengeneza machapati nini, wanatengeneza vitu vile. People down there, most I've told you an example of my house here. My home here, if you come here on Saturday and Sunday, unakuta watoto wengi hapa kama 500 wanakuja kukunywa chai na mkate na kuenda kwao. Na hiyo mimi nanunua hiyo mkate. So hii mkate si ni ya watu ya chini. Hii watu ni mkate ni watu ya chini wananunua. Na you know, people are only focusing on two issues, hiyo mkate na hiyo ya magari. But there are even others which people are not even following. But you can also add the common person. So what I'm saying, hii maneno ya finance bill is at the stage ya wananchi. Sasa yenu ndio inatakana muende mjadiliane, muone mahali watu wakikuja, they did public participation, watu waende wakatae. Alafu sasa wakileta bunge wanakuja wanasema sasa ile tulienda Nakuru tulikuta watu fulani walienda wakakataa, wakasema walienda wakati nini, walisema hii because ni maoni. Then from there wajumbe sasa ndio waone, because hata mimi ndauliza watu yangu, what do you think about this? Today I was asking in judge, what do you think about this bill ya finance bill 2024? Watu walikataa wakasema ni mbaya. So if I go to 3 places wasema ni mbaya, I would also say ni mbaya.
Ikishafika bungeni mheshimiwa, kuna taswira zipi ambazo labda tunaweza tukaangazia na itakuwa na athari gani kwa taifa ikishafika kwenye kama wao?
You know what happens, eh? That is why people have representatives who represent the people. So it's up to you where you come from, constituency yako, uone watu yako wanataka nini. Kama wanataka upitishe hiyo bill utapiga yes, kama hawataki, kama wanataka you say yes, kama hawataki you say no. There are consequences which will come later. When 2027 comes, watu watakuuliza waseme wewe ulienda ukaweka hizo vitu zikaenda juu, so hatuwezi kukupea kura. Nani anataka kura? Everybody wants akuwe elected. So hiyo itategemea sasa kila mjumbe vile anajua watu yake. Lakini kwa watu yangu saa hii nikiongea, my people have said no. So I will go with what they are saying.
Shukrani sana. Tubadilishe gia mheshimiwa. Mrengo wa Rais William Ruto umeonekana katika siku za hivi karibuni ukizozana. Ajapo sio viongozi wote ambao labda wako katika mirengo hii, lakini baadhi ya viongozi kutoka mrengo wa Rais William Ruto wamerushiana cheti za maneno na baadhi ya viongozi wa naibu wake. Na ni kama Wakenya wengi sana wameshtushwa. Sijui kama vile vile umeweza kushangazwa na kile kinachoendelea.
Unajua hii maneno ya tulikuwa na Jubilee, mliona vile watu, unajua ukikuwa na chama ya watu wengi ni kawaida watu kurumbana vile wanarumbana. Because unakuta kwa ile chama, for example kama Jubilee kule tulikuwa bado, mliona mara ya mwisho ilileta shida mpaka watu wakaenda vile walienda, ukaona deputy alikuwa anasema hii the president now, na yule Uhuru Kenyatta siku hii akasema hii ikakuwa waelewani. Na hiyo ni kawaida kwa wanasiasa. Sasa inatakikana wenye chama, that is the party leaders, and of course the party, unajua this KK iko na majama mingi. Unajua KK is a party of many parties which came together to form the government KK. Na hiyo watu wakianza kurumbana namna hiyo, wanarumbana kwa sababu wamekuwa wengi, kila mtu wako na maoni yake. But today if the president calls these people to order, I'm sure watawacha. Kama wale wajumbe wanaona wengi kutoka Central wanasema kingpin yao ni Bwana Rigathi, na wengine wamekataa, wamesema kingpin yao hawezi kuwa Rigathi kwa sababu zingine zile wanapeana. But the fact is what Rigathi, as we talk today, because me I'm not in UDA, and in that case I'm not in KK, I'm in Jubilee, but working together with the KK government. When I look at the people from my constituents, whom the majority come from Central Kenya, wanatoka mountain, wanatoka mlima. Nafikiri wengi saa hii, I think wako na Rigathi.
Naam.
Wako na Rigathi. Hii maneno ya Rigathi anasema one man, one vote, one shilingi. Ni hivyo. I see one man, one vote, one shilingi. Watu wote, including myself, mimi niko hapo. Kwa sababu in my constituents tuko na watu wengi. So tukienda hiyo one man, one vote, one shilingi, hakuna tano wezi itafaitika. So mimi niko hapo. Hiyo ndio shida. Na hiyo ndio shida imekuwa na watu kutoka mlima, because Rigiji, kusema ukweli, Rigiji, unajua niliona mtu mwingine juzi amesema ati William Ruto aliingia peke yake, aliingia Central Kenya, ati hakuna mtu alimpeleka. But the fact remains ya kwamba Rigiji played a very important role kwa William Ruto kupata kura Central. He played a very big role. Sisi sote tulikuwa tunaona, including yourself, including everybody. Vile Rigiji alisimama kabisa akakataa, akasema Uhuru Kenyatta, wewe umeingia na Raila na sisi Wakikuyu hatutaki. Akaongea kabisa, akapiga kelele. Rigiji mwenyewe aliteswa sana na ile serikali nyingine. Nakumbuka at one time Rigiji alienda akakamatwa, akastakiwa, Trump charges wakasema yeye mwenyewe Rigiji tulikuwa na yeye bunge na ni the same committee, transport committee. Wakati alikuwa arrested, nilikuwa nimejua, hata niliongea na yeye, walimtesa sana. He was even stripped naked in front of his wife and the kids. Ile matesa alipitia ni kubwa sana, na akaambia watu wakampiga sympathy votes, wakapiga mahali alienda KK ndiye wakashinda. Licha ya kwamba yeye hakuwa, unajua walisimama wawili kule, ukipewa ni you have a running mate, people vote for you, wanna be here the principal and the running mate. Ile Wakikuyu walipiga kura wote kutoka Central, wengi Wakikuyu walipiga kwa sababu Rigiji ndiye aliuelekeza, akasema tupigie UDA. Of course kulikuwa na wengine kama wakina majority leader, wakina Nyoro, wale watu yote walifuza, wakina Kuria, CS, they repelled against the kingpin then, who was Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But if you look at Rigiji, Zaira amekuwa deputy president, I think ameendelea kusema zile vitu walikuwa wanasema siku ile ya kwamba Wakikuyu lazima, because Mount Kenya, they say Mount Kenya, they must be given more shares in the government, which I also agree with him. That what is the why do we vote? Kwa nini tunapiga kura kama ya president? Kama tunaweza piga kura ya president achukue alafu aseme sasa pea Waluya viti mingi kuliko Wakikuyu, na Wakikuyu walipiga wengi. That's what he meant. The shares he's talking about is that Mount Kenya ilipiga kura, it brought all members of parliament.
Lakini ukosoaji wako mheshimiwa watatofautiana na wewe, watasema kwamba rais na naibu ni viongozi wa taifa lote. Ya kwamba sio viongozi, na hata kuna wengi sana
ni sawa when you are doing what.
Kwa sasa wamemwona kama kiongozi wa Mlima Kenya na sio, hana ile taswira ya kiongozi wa taifa. Ameweza kukashifiwa sana.
Ona, mimi nimeanza kusema namna hii in Nakuru County. Hii maneno ya finance bill nikikute na faidisha watu yangu wa Nakuru Town West, nitapiga yes. Hiyo imenifanya nimekuwa mkabila. Kila kiongozi anatetea watu yake.
Huyu naibu rais ambaye anatetea
watu yake
Mlima Kenya,
anatetea watu yake. Watu yake ni Mount Kenya.
Wale ambao labda wanashangaa katika maeneo kama vile labda ya Northeastern, kaskazini mashariki.
Si wako na viongozi yao pia waende wa.
Lakini naibu rais si bado yeye ni naibu rais.
No, what I'm saying apart from bikuwa naibu wa rais, siko viongozi, siko members of parliament from those areas, because senators. Si waende waseme pia wanataka nini kutoka kwa mahali wanatoka.
Tayari wameshazungumza.
Ya wamesema 1 kilometer, 1 shilling, 1 man. That's what they have said. What is wrong with it? The deputy president is trying to say what these people want, where it comes from. ile watu walipiga kura wengi kutoka Central walipiga kwa sababu waliwaambia nitawaelekeza mahali mzuri. So kama iko watu wengine walisema kutoka,
akifanya hivyo anaweza kuwa na labda anaweza kuwa na pendekezo gani, kwa sababu ingetakikana vile vile aweze kusikika akisema kwamba na katika hayo maeneo mengine.
Sasa kama Wakikuyu ni wengi wamepiga kura mingi, what's wrong with him saying that Wakikuyu tulipiga kura mingi, wacha tupatiwe na sisi ni wengi, wacha au resources ni nini? How do you give out resources? Could you give resources to people? That's what he's saying. Yeah, hajasema tu Wakikuyu wapewe pesa mingi kuliko watu kutoka Kisii ama Nyamira ama Western. He's saying that he give resources to people, and that is it. That's what he's saying. Just like I've said, I also want 1 man, 141 shilling to be given to my people in Nakuru Town West, because we are the many. So when you are the many, you give taxes, mnapeana taxes, you give taxes mingi pia. Unajua sasa tuseme, if let's say from Nakuru Town West, I have maybe 212,000 people who pay taxes, who pay taxes because they do something in one or another. Then you go to Northeastern, a constituency like mine, where they have maybe 30,000 people. But my people from here wanakatwa tax. Hii 100, 200 and those wanakatwa tax. Na hii tax inaenda napewa mtu ya Northeastern ya constituency 30,000 people. So I'm saying,
unawezekana changamoto za fall pia zinaweza kuwa juu.
I don't know, mimi kama gani. One thing I know, taxes,
labda ndio msingi. Hapa kwako
taxes, one thing I know.
Kwa shule nyingine labda ziko karibu sana, lakini kule unaweza kuta kwamba shule moja kwenda mpaka shule nyingine zaidi ya kilomita 100.
Na watu wale wanaenda hizo shule ni wangapi? Kwa example ni wangapi? So kama unaweza kuwa na shule, unakuwa na shule siku kwa umbali na watu wachache. Then you are being given money kulingana na what you produce. What we are saying, let's give money in terms of ile pesa tumepeana. Taxes ile tunalipa, wacha tupate. Kama sisi tunalipa tax mingi, wacha tupate pesa mingi. Kama yeye taxes mlipa kidogo because nini wachache, pata taxes kidogo. What's wrong with that? Mimi sioni kama iko shida. No. So kama watu wanataka waende wakue wengi kwao, sisi hatukatazi watu kwenda kuwa wengi kwao. Waende wakue wengi, wapate pesa mingi. Ikuwe 1 man, 141 shilling.
Na mtindo kama huu unafikiri kwamba unaweza ukalete kule kuendelea kwa taifa kimoja?
Hakuna shida, because you know what's happening here. If, for example, you are not the many, development inakuwa kidogo. Let me tell you an example. In Nakuru Town West, we have all of these secondary schools tuko nazo. All of those people wale wanasoma shule ni watoto wengi sana. So if I get bursary equivalent to Northeastern, I have maybe 10,000 students wale wanaenda secondary, niwalipie bursary. I will be forced to pay up to 3,000, 4,000 shillings per child kuenda secondary because they are 10,000. But yenda mahali kama maybe Wajir, unakuta watoto wale wanaenda shule the whole of Wajir constituency, one of the Wajir West, they can be at 100 students. So why should we people be deducted tax ya all this money, alafu watu hiyo pesa iende Northeastern, so that Northeastern pale mtoto anaenda unakuta hata wanapeana pesa ingine na paki. When here we are giving 3,000 shillings. So what we are saying, kama mko wengi mnalipa taxi nyingi, mpate pesa mingi. Kama nyinyi ni wachache, mnalipa taxi chache, then pata pesa kidogo. Me, I'm not seeing anything. Na hiyo hakuna ukabila. That's what the deputy president is saying. And the deputy president comes from a place. It doesn't come from heaven. When you are a deputy president, it doesn't mean that now you desist being a person coming from a certain area. Ndio sema sasa hii mtu umekuwa deputy president, sasa wewe you don't come from a region. Everybody comes from a region. So that's what he's saying.
Kuna vile ambavyo labda unafikiria kwamba mheshimiwa wakati mwingine ni vyema kwa wanasiasa kuweza kuwa na misimamo hususan wakati ambapo analaumiwa kwa kuweza kupinga mwelekeo huu wakati ambapo tulikuwa na ule mjadala wa BBI. Ni nini ambacho hakuona siku hiyo ambacho unafikiria anaona sasa?
Yani wakati walikuwa wanapinga.
Wakati wa BBI.
Unajua what happened with BBI? BBI walipinga lakini ikapita. Unajua ni kodi ilitoa si raia. Walikuwa wanapinga kwa sababu iko vitu vingine. Unajua when you ramp up together pills. Tuseme umeweka several kama saa hii nimesema waende waweke hiyo ya mkate, waweke ya mafuta, waweke ya hiyo ya magari, waweke na ngine wakuja waseme unataka mpitishe hiyo.
Lakini alinukuliwa. Yeye mwenyewe akisema binafsi hiyo mambo ya one man one vote au ni vile ambavyo ingesaidia mlima Kenya. Alikuwa
anasema wakati hiyo unajua wanasiasa sisi we go with the situations. If you think that situation could make Raila anguke, angesema it is normal. So akisema namna hiyo, because you know there's an English Swahili Kisungu which said that a fool is only a person who does not change minds. So I believe it's not a fool that we has changed. A fool is only a person who cannot change. But the deputy president is not a fool. That's why he has changed.
Unafikiri kwamba mheshimiwa, mbali na hilo swala, unafikiri kwamba kuna shinikizo ama kuna mpango mahususi wa kuweza kumfanya naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua kukosa kuwa naibu wa rais kupoteza hicho kiti kwa sababu ya pendekezo la labda mtu mwingine kuweza kupoteza?
Hawezi kupoteza, atapoteza aje? Unajua the constitution ya 2010, the deputy president and the president they are just the same. The president cannot sack the deputy. So wataenda mpaka miaka
2027, lakini rais anaweza kuwa na uhuru wa kuweza kumchagua.
Of course, the contract between William Ruto and DVG is just 5 years.
Kunaweza kuwa labda kuna hiyo mipango kuelekea 2027.
No, sioni kama iko that one I can't know. But one thing I know is kila mtu wako na uhuru ya kuchagua running mate in every succession election. Kama anaona wapelekani watatafuta mwingine, kama anaona wanapelekana bado wataendelea.
Kwa sasa amekuwa akisikika sana akiweza kutaka kupatanishwa tena na vile vile kukuwa na mapatano kati yake na rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta.
You know you people, unajua nyinyi mnasahau ya kwamba huyu Rigiji at one time alikuwa PA ya Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta alikuwa mdosi yake for a long time. So mimi sioni shida watu wakisema wanataka kurudiana waongee kama walikuwa wamekosana, because siasa ikuangi na uadui. You know, we don't live completely and every time that the Arama anasimama kura, so wewe kama ulikuwa umesimama na mimi you are my enemy. You cannot live kurushiana maneno zaidi tunatafuta kura ikiisha, we come back and become one. So walikuwa wanarushiana maneno kwa sababu ya kura. Kura imeisha, watu wote warudi pamoja. So that's why wanataka kurudiana. Asante sana.
Yes, of course, and that is where we bring it to a close. This discussion with Honorable Samuel Arama. He's a member of parliament for Nakuru Town West, of course, tackling quite a number of issues very pertinent in the country. The Finance Bill 2024, of course, the feud that we've been seeing in the regarding the two warring parties on the president side and also the deputy president side, and of course the debate on one man, one shilling. You can take it away.
Okay. All right, and welcome back to our Leadership Wednesday, and we had a very candid interview. My colleague Mangicho and MP Honorable Samuel Arama was really outlined various issues regarding to the finance bill and its positions on some important matters regarding to what is happening in our country.
Yeah, of course, he's made it categorically that there are things that he's not going to support, the issue of motor vehicle, the issue of bread. So I was just wondering, so that basically means that when it is brought to the House of to the House in Parliament, we'll be able to see those positions being very evident.
Yes, and what we are not knowing from him, they are going to vote for the bill per clause. Per
clause or in its entirety. And I think that is really what we'll now want to find out.
There's one thing he has mentioned very important, that every member of parliament must understand and know the positions of his constituents regarding to finance bill. And also he has mentioned about the one man, one vote, one shilling, which says from where he comes from, people don't support finance bill 2024 and also the one man.
The one man.
No. He says he's supporting the one man, one vote, one shilling. But for finance bill, he says his people on the ground, they told him, we are against that bill.
Of course, very, very candid conversation there, but because of time, Kagi, we might not really get into the, or maybe further into some of the points that he was able to bring out. But for now, we want to look at a very, very interesting segment that, Kagi, you've done, Prominent Faces.
Yes, and today we'll be looking at the late and first president of the Republic of Tanzania, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere.
Exactly.
Yes, we understand his life and what he did for the Tanzanians.
Sure. Let's have our very, very new segment in the Leadership Wednesday show, that is Prominent Faces. Our director, you can bring it for us.
Julius Nyerere was born in March 1922, Butiama, Tanganyika. He was the first Prime Minister of independent Tanganyika in 1961 and first President of Tanzania between 1964 and 1985. Born in Butiama near Lake Victoria, the son of Chief Nyerere Borito of Zanaki tribe, Nyerere was educated at a government school before attending Makerere University College between 1943 to 1945, where he received a diploma in education. He began teaching at a mission school in Tabora in 1946 to 1949. Later, he spent a period at Edinburgh University, London, before returning in 1953 to teach at St. Francis College near Dar es Salaam. Nyerere's political career began in 1954 when he founded the Tanganyika African National Union, TANU. Julius Kambarage Nyerere was Tanzania's first and longest-serving president, an influential African statesman with an outspoken vision of the development of his nation and Africa as a whole. He was the major force behind the Organization of African Unity, OAU, now African Union. He taught in Catholic schools before studying history and economics in Britain.
Well, you know the problem with democracy. I don't think there is any country in the world which does not call itself democratic. All countries in the world call themselves democratic. It's a matter, first, of definition, I think mainly of definition and of what we regard to be the essentials of democracy. We certainly ourselves regard ourselves as democratic. We understand why countries used to the multi-party system don't believe that a one-party system can be democratic, or are rather suspicious of the one-party system. We can't, frankly, convince them by sheer argument, philosophical argument, that this is possible. Perhaps the best thing is actually to see this thing in practice. What are the essentials of democracy? The essentials of democracy are that individuals should feel unharassed, that they are actually free in their society. Individual, this is the most essential thing. I never see why an individual should not feel free because of a machinery of election. And the two-party or the one-party is really basically a machinery of election.
As a leader of the Tanganyika African National Union, TANU, he advocated peaceful change, social equality, and ethnic harmony. As president, he pushed for village farmlands, carried out mass literacy campaigns, and instituted universal education. He sought to make Tanzania economically self-sufficient through Ujamaa program, an effort that ultimately failed.
Nchi yetu maskini, nchi yetu hii ni maskini. Wakulima wetu wafanyakazi wetu maskini. Nchi hii bado ni nchi ya wakulima na maskini ambao ni wakulima na wafanyakazi ambao wote ni watu maskini. Nchi hii haijawa ya matajiri. Chama hiki hakijawa chama cha matajiri. Tunataka tuendelee kushughulika na umaskini wa watu wetu. Tushughulike kwa dhati na matatizo ya wananchi, ya uchumi wao, hali yao ya uchumi, hali yao ya viwandani, hali yao ya mashambani, hali yao ya shuleni, hali yao ya hospitalini. Tunataka kuona hakika kwamba mtatuteulia mtu ambaye ukiulizwa swali, huyu anajua kwamba nchi hii ni nchi bado ni nchi ya maskini.
The legacy of Julius Nyerere is twofold. On the one hand, he is much admired for his vision and achievements as an African independence leader, referred to as Baba wa Taifa or the Father of Nation. On the other hand, he is criticized for his limited democratic values and the failure of his policies. Nyerere himself remained unoptimistic throughout his life.
And ethnicity, yes, but Singapore has ethnic groups, has Chinese, the dominant group, has Malays, has Indians. But Singapore has done well economically. Had Singapore not done well economically, and you have these ethnic groups there, but the economy is not doing well, you would be hearing about the ethnic divisions of Singapore. And I have a feeling that, or if Singapore was doing well, but somehow one ethnic group was dominating the others economically, we would hear that. And this problem is basically economic.
In 1979, he authorized the invasion of Uganda to overthrow Idi Amin. Within the OAU, he advocated the overthrow of white supremacist governments in South Africa, Rhodesia, and Southwestern Africa. After retiring from politics in 1990, Nyerere devoted the rest of his life to farming and diplomacy. End of our prominent faces, the late Julius Kambarage Nyerere, first president of Tanzania.
Hatuwezi lugha ya ukabila hatuwezi kuzungumza. Wenzetu wanatushangaa. Wenzetu majirani, sisi ndio ilikuwa mfano wao. Mbona Tanzania hawazungumzi ukabila? Sisi tunazungumza ukabila. Mfano wao ilikuwa ni Tanzania. Tunataka kuwaiga majirani zetu katika hilo. Tunataka kusema Kenya wanazungumza makabila na sisi tuzungumze kabila, kwa nini? Tunasema Uganda wanazungumza makabila na sisi vile vile tuzungumze ukabila, kwa nini? Tunasema Rwanda na Burundi wanazungumza makabila na sisi tuzungumze ukabila, kwa nini? Tunasema hivyo wa Tanzania bila haya.
Absolutely amazing. Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, of course, featuring on our prominent faces segment on the leadership. That was quite a very great segment, Kage.
Yes.
And of course, many people remember Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. He stands out, and especially I think I would remember him very much well for fighting what we can actually call negative ethnicity.
Yes, he was very candid, yes, and aggressive in fighting against ethnicity. And he managed by particularly bringing Tanzanians together through language. Kiswahili.
Wow, that is awesome. And of course, you can look forward for more of these prominent faces even in our subsequent leadership program shows. But because of time, Kage, I think we can now get straight into Know Your Constituency. Know Your Constituency. And it's already there on your screen. And today, Kagi, I'm taking you all the way to the capital city. That, of course, is Nairobi County, or the county government of Nairobi. And we have this constituency there. Starehe constituency is an electoral constituency in Kenya, one of the 17 constituencies in Nairobi City County. First established for the 1966 general election, the current MP for Starehe constituency is Hon Amos Mwago. That is the current member of parliament for Starehe constituency. We have some other highlights. Previous members of parliament. 1966 we had Clement Lubembe. Come 1969 we had Charles Rubia, clinched the seat again in 1974. And then we had in 1988 Kiruhi Kimondo. Then come 1989, we had Gershon Kirema. 1992 again, Kiruhi Kimondo. Come 1994, Stephen Mwangi. Then 1997, very notable name, Minor Commander. 2007, Bishop Margaret Wanjiru. Come 2013, Minor Commander. 2017, Charles Njagwa. And of course, 2022, and currently, that is Amos Mwago. The wards that we have there are Nairobi Central, Ngara, Pangani, Landimawe, South B, Ziwani, Stroke, Kariakor. And of course, talking about the main economic activity, Kagi, there. we are not growing any crops there. So Starehe constituency as a business, as a major economic activity, since it actually hosts the CBD, or the Central Business District.
Yeah, when you hear someone is going to do some jobs in Nairobi, is either being employed in a business or maybe to open a business.
To open a business.
It's a business hub.
Absolutely. That is Starehe constituency. And of course, just before we bring it to an end, we can have our leadership quote. And our leadership quote for today is, "It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one person from another. It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one person from another." And this is from Nelson Mandela.
Yes. What you have is the most important thing.
Exactly.
It's one which is valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we have to bring it to a close for today. Thank you so much for making time to be with us on Leadership Wednesday edition. We'll do it again next week. Make sure you catch up with us. We wish you a blessed afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Mangicho Mola.
Paul Kagi, my name. Enjoy your Wednesday.